Okay. So who is speaking now? Kardam Muni is speaking. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition, who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. So it seems like Kardam Muni has approached, although he's saying that it should be without any motive, but he says, I've approached you because I want to find a girl suitable for marriage who is of like disposition. In spite of his condemning persons who approach the Lord for material advantages, Kardam Muni expressed his material inability and desire before the Lord by saying, although I know that nothing material should be asked from you, I nevertheless desire to marry a girl of like disposition. The phrase like disposition is very significant. Formerly, boys and girls of similar dispositions were married. The similar natures of boy and girl were united in order to make them happy. Not more than 25 years ago, and perhaps it is still current, parents in India used to consult the horoscope of the boy and girl to see whether there would be factual union in their psychological conditions. These considerations are very important. Nowadays, marriage takes place without such consultation, and therefore, soon after the marriage, there is divorce and separation. Formerly, husband and wife used to live together peacefully throughout their whole lives, but nowadays it is a very difficult task. Of course, Prabhupada also himself had difficulty in the marriage. Kardam Muni wanted to have a wife of like disposition because a wife is necessary to assist in spiritual and material advancement. It is said that a wife yields the fulfillment of all desires in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. If one has a nice wife, he is to be considered a most fortunate man. In astrology, a man is considered fortunate who has great wealth, very good sons, or a very good wife. Of these three, one who has a very good wife is considered the most fortunate. Before marrying, one should select a wife of like disposition and not be enamored with the so called beauty or other attractive features for sense gratification. In Bhagavatam, 12th canto, it is said that in Kali Yuga, marriage will be based on the consideration of sex life. As soon as there is deficiency in sex life, the question of divorce will arise. Kardam Muni could have asked his benediction from Uma, for it is recommended in the scriptures that if anyone wants a good wife, he should worship Uma, and anybody who wants a good husband should worship Lord Shiva. But he preferred to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead because it is recommended in the Bhagavatam that everyone, whether he is full of desires, has no desire, or desires liberation, should worship the Supreme Lord. Which verse is that?
Akam sarvakam mokshakam udadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param.
Of these three classes of men, one tries to be happy by fulfillment of material desires. Another wants to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme, and another, the perfect man, is a devotee. Moksha, those who want moksha, those who are sarvakama, and those who are akama, sarvakama, va, moksha kama, udaradi. So akama is the devotee. He doesn't want anything in return from the personality of Godhead. He only wants to render transcendental loving service. In any case, everyone should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he will fulfill everyone's desire. The advantage of worshipping the Supreme Person is that even if one has desires for material enjoyment, if he worships Krishna, he will gradually become a pure devotee and have no more material hankering. So, Kardam Muni wanted to marry, so he approached Vishnu. He asked, and he said, yes, I'm not asking for the highest thing from you, but what can I do? He expressed his material inability. And so Prabhupada says, yeah, by worshipping Krishna, one will come to the point of desirelessness, having no more material hankering, as happened in the case of
Dhruva Maharaj.
Dhruva.
Yeah, but Kardama Muni has been doing tapasya for so many long years. He didn't become purified of his desire.
So I'm not sure exactly. Yes, that's a good point.
But it is also destined because the Lord has to take birth and he's choosing him as his father.
Correct. Yeah. So Kapila Dev is going to take birth as the son of Kardam Muni. So, so that is also like,
Like Vasudeva and Devaki also, right? They prayed when they were doing so much tapasya, and they prayed that maybe have a son just like you.
correct. Yes. So it's a material desire, but yes, even if one has material desire, then one should approach Krishna. Prabhupada said like that, right? That they wanted a son like
Mhm.
God, but he said that instead of going back home, back to Godhead, they're trying to bring God here, something like that. There's a son. So not everybody can accept the highest, and like na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. And so Prabhupada says, yes, whatever material desires you have, still worship the Supreme Lord. So, okay. Then one will come to the point of no material thing.
I think
Okay.
the Lord knows what is best for us. So, I mean, the Prithu Maharaj prayer is like that, whatever is good for me, you give me that. I don't know what is good for me. I mean, we can ask for things and may lead to suffering and ultimately frustration, detachment, and that is everything would lead to that only because the material world is meant for that, right? To lead us to the point of detachment.
Correct.
So we go through the route of suffering, or we go through the route of easy way, as we were discussing yesterday. So we leave it up to Krishna. Whatever is good for us, you give me that. Whatever is good for my bhakti, you give me that.
Yes, correct. And here Kardama Muni is specifically asking that you give me this. And he's feeling little ashamed also that, you know, so he condemned before that, yeah, one should not ask the Lord for material things. And then he's asking. So, and then what is going to happen? He's going to renounce also. He's going to give up. And, although his son is there, Kapila Dev and the Supreme Lord. So he will come to the point of no material hankering at the end. So, or detachment or renunciation. So, correct? Is that what Kapila Dev, right?
Yes, Prabhu. As soon as his son is born, he leaves.
Oh, okay. So, like, who was the other one who left like that?
Sridhar Swami.
Sridhar Swami. Yes. So, like that. But in today's world, it may be considered like irresponsible. Then, and that living without fulfilling your responsibilities and cannot imitate. So, okay. O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you who are eternal time. Krishna is the master and everybody's servant. Ekala, Ekala Ishwar.
एकला ईश्वर कृष्ण और सब वृत्ते यारे याय छे नित्याय ते ताय छे करे नित्य.
Yes. So as Krishna makes us dance, we have to dance. Everybody is dancing to the modes of material nature. Nobody is free, and unless you become pure devotee, everybody is under the influence of modes of material nature. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. So, Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvasha. Guna is also rope. Devi Yasha Gunamai Mamaya Durataya. Everybody is bound. So following them, embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you for eternal time. So let's read. In the Katha Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Lord is the leader of all living entities. He is their sustainer and the awarder of all necessities and desires. That is other words also. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetnanam eko bahunam yo vidyatati kaman. Krishna is fulfilling the desires of everyone. There are many eternal living entities. No living entity is independent, and all are dependent on the mercy of the Lord, Supreme Lord. So if you have desires, to fulfill the desires also we have to depend on Supreme Lord. We cannot fulfill even material desires. We have to depend on the Supreme Lord. Because therefore the Vedic instruction is that one should enjoy life under the direction of the Supreme Leader, the personality of Godhead. So we just accept subordination. And Prabhupada said the example he gave was the servant in the he also enjoys like
The master.
servant in the king's palace. Yeah. He is also, because he's working, he also gets to enjoy some of the facilities of the king provides. So Vedic literatures like Ishopanishad direct that since everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not encroach upon another's property, but should enjoy one's individual allotment. Which verse is that?
Ishavasya
Isha.
jagat yad kincha jagatyam jagatena tyaktena bhunjita magrada kachasatanu.
The best program for every living entity is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and enjoy material or spiritual life. Of course, there is no enjoyment, but we want to enjoy. So Krishna is saying, a question may be raised: since Kardama Muni was advanced in spiritual life, then why did he not ask the Lord for liberation? Why did he want to enjoy material life in spite of his personally seeing and experiencing the Supreme Lord? So that's the question. The answer is that not everyone is competent to be liberated from material bondage. And it takes, because conditioning is there. So not everybody. Yeah, somebody want to say anything? Any comments? Okay. So not everybody, of course everybody is competent, but it all depends on us also. But conditioning, because of conditioning, Krishna wants everybody to be liberated from material bondage. But it is everyone's duty, therefore, to enjoy according to his present position, but under the direction of the Lord or the Vedas. That's why we were ashram. The Vedas are considered to be the direct words of the Lord. The Lord gives us the opportunity to enjoy material life as we want. And at the same time, he gives direction for the modes and processes for abiding by the Vedas so that gradually one may be elevated to liberation from material bondage. The conditioned souls who have come to the material world to fulfill the desires to lord it over material nature are bound by the laws of nature. The best course is to abide by the Vedic rules that will help one gradually be elevated to liberation. Kardama Muni addresses the Lord as Shukla, which means the leader of religion. One who is pious should follow the rules of religion, for such rules are prescribed by the Lord himself. No one can manufacture or concoct a religion. Religion refers to the injunctions or laws of the Lord. Dharmantu Sakshat.
Bhagavad Pranitam.
Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says the religion means to surrender unto Him. Therefore, one should follow the Vedic regulations and surrender unto the Supreme Lord, because that is the ultimate goal of perfection in human life. One should live a life of piety, follow the rules, religious rules and regulations, marry and live peacefully for elevation to the higher status of spiritual realization. So, if it is disturbing, and like Gajendra's, then one should get married. There are 4 ashramas: brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So immediately one may not be able to give it up. So one should live married life and then slowly renounce, because it is not easy to become detached. So that is why there is a concession given that it's like if you can't, then okay.
Is this called Pravritti Marg?
Pravritti Marg, yes.
Gradually lead to liberation.
Correct. Nivritti Marg is the path of renunciation, but everybody cannot be on the Nivritti Marg. So Dharma, but then do some pravritti marg and then come to the point of nivritti marg. Ultimately, one has to become. Yeah, that's why the four ashrams which Prabhupada talks about. Yeah, it's there. So because everybody is not like we are not that renounced or anything like that. So it's not possible to directly just give up all material desires and surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's a little bit okay. Then take this path, follow according to the religious principles, and then so in every ashram there should be the adherence to the four regulative principles. For brahmachari, vanaprastha, and sannyas, there is no like association with the opposite gender. So there is there is no connection. And then in grihastha ashram, it is also under rules and regulations. So like that. And if one follows, then slowly there is a. But Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, there is always a chance of accident, even on the royal roads. You may be driving on the royal road, which is very nice and very broad and everything, but there is even a chance of accident on the royal road. So, in one purport in Bhagavad Gita, he writes like, so.
Like Ajamil. Like Ajamil.
Ajamil, yes. So, yeah, there's, but one should then realize, and then even in not even outside, even inside marriage, there can be chance of accidents. As Prabhupada has given us the regulative principle of no illicit sex is not in for the purpose of procreation. So outside or inside, there can be chance of accidents, even in so like that. But then slowly one comes to the nivritti mark. Okay. Anything else I would like to say? Aritra Prabhu, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was actually, it's interesting. I just happened to be on that verse in the Bhagavad Gita 334, which you were talking about.
Oh, the royal. Excellent.
Attraction and repulsion. Indriyasyarthe ragadvesha vyavastitau tayornavasham agachet tauhi asya paripanthinau. Attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings, but one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Interesting. I was just on that one.
Is it that in that purport Prabhupada?
Yeah, it's in the purport. So one has to, so one has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray as much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current for a very long time, owing to material association. And then it goes on.
Yeah, yes. Okay. Okay. Next verse we'll read. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and the beastly followers of these affairs, and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. So further, he's saying, Kardama Muni is saying that those who have taken shelter of your lotus feet and they are intoxicated, means they have tasted the nectar of Krishna's lotus feet and his pastimes, they can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. So, after describing the necessity of married life, Kardama Muni asserts that marriage and other social affairs are stereotyped regulations for persons who are addicted to material sense enjoyment. The principles of animal life, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, are actually necessities of the body. But those who engage in transcendental Krishna consciousness, giving up all the stereotyped activities of this material world, are freed from social conventions. Condition. So stereotype means, you go through the, your student life, and then you get married, then have children, then raise the children. It's like a stereotype life. But Prabhupada is saying those who engage in transcendental Krishna consciousness are freed from social conventions. They don't have to go through the stereotype life. Conditioned souls are under the spell of material energy or eternal time, past, present, and future. But as soon as one engages in Krishna consciousness, he transcends the limit of past and present and becomes situated in the eternal activities of the soul. One is to act in terms of Vedic injunctions in order to enjoy material life, but those who have taken to devotional service of the Lord are not afraid of the regulations of this material world. Such devotees do not care for the conventions of material activities. They boldly take to that shelter, which is like an umbrella, against the sun of repeated birth and death. Constant transmigration of the soul from one body to another is the cause of suffering in material existence. This conditional life in material existence is called sansar. Sansara Davana. One may perform good work and take his birth in a very nice material condition, but the process under which birth and death takes place is like a terrible fire. So death and birth, very painful for the jiva. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his prayer to the spiritual master, has described this sansara, or the repetition of birth and death, is compared to a forest fire, the same song we were singing. A forest fire takes place automatically without anyone's endeavor by the friction of dried wood, and no fire department or sympathetic person can extinguish it. The raging forest fire can be extinguished only when there is a constant downpour of water from a cloud. The cloud is compared to the mercy of the spiritual master. By the grace of the spiritual master, the cloud of mercy of the personality of Godhead is brought in, and then only when the rains of Krishna consciousness fall can the fire of material existence be extinguished. You want to say anything, Haritra Prabhu?
No, the fire of material existence is just consuming all of us.
Yeah.
I did actually. Yeah, sorry, I was unmuted. So I'll just be on mute.
Anybody want to say anything? You can say. This is also explained here. In order to find freedom from the stereotyped conditional life of material existence, one has to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not in the manner in which impersonalists indulge, but in devotional service, chanting and hearing of the activities of the Lord. Only then one can be freed from the actions and reactions of material existence. So we have to take shelter of devotional service, especially through hearing and chanting. Prabhupada mentions, it is recommended here that one should give up the conditional life of this material world and the association of so-called civilized human beings who are simply following in a polished way the same stereotyped principles of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. So Prabhupada talks on both sides, but now he's talking on the nivritti side. Chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord is described here as Tvad Guna Vada Sat Sidhu. Only by drinking the nectar of chanting and hearing the pastimes of the Lord can one forget the intoxication of material existence. So if you are intoxicated by love of God, intoxicated by the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, then you can forget the intoxication. We are also intoxicated in this material world, by the desire for sense gratification. When a person is intoxicated, right, he loses all his capacity to discriminate. So we are also in this world, we are intoxicated by the desire for sense gratification. So we have kind of lost our discrimination, and we're not thinking of going back, home back to Godhead. We have forgotten our relationship with God. Intoxicated person, he'll speak also all nonsense. So, those who are intoxicated they have so many topics to talk about. As Bhagavatam says, Shrota Vyadini Rajendra Nirnam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atma Tattvam Griyeshu Griham Edinam. So they talk about so many things because they are intoxicated in this material world, it is like you might have seen a drunk person how he speaks, and you may speak all garbage. So, so yeah, instead of drinking the real nectar, as King Kulashekar says in his Mukundamala Stotra, people have given the real nectar, or we have given up the real nectar. We are trying to get into the chanting of the holy name, and so Narayana Namani Narayani Gocharani Tyaktva Kuhaka Patanti. Right? What is that word? Tyaktva. Help me.
First verse.
Namani Narayani Gocharani. That verse is that Vishaya, they give up the life-giving nectar of Hari Katha, Krishna's names, and instead they
Drink poison by
poison. Yes.
आश्चर्यमेतद्धि मनुष्यलोके सुधं परित्यज्य विषं पिबन्ति नामानि नारायण गोचराणि त्यक्त्वा न वाचा कुहका पठन्ति. The greatest wonder in the human society is that people are so incorrigible that they reject the life-giving nectar of Lord Narayan's name and instead drink poison by speaking everything else.
This is also the Ashcharya. But the thing is, because they don't find happiness in this. That's the whole thing. They find happiness in other things. So that's why they can't talk about it. But how will you find happiness if you don't chant every day? If you don't engage in devotional service? So when we come into this material world, it is not like we are automatically attracted to devotional service. Some are already, because of their past, spiritual, they automatically are very attracted to Krishna and devotional service. But generally, we have come to this material world, so we are conditioned. So, and not naturally, our inclination is for sense gratification. We are naturally attracted to enjoying in this world. So, if you keep doing that and never attempt to chant the holy name, never attempt to associate with the sadhus, then your taste will remain like that in this for sense gratification. So it will never change. And you don't come to the association of sadhus because you don't have taste for hearing about Krishna Katha. So it will remain as it is and then keep transmigrating in this material world. So that is why, I don't know when it changes, but somehow some devotee has to show some mercy and give us some book or something like that, and then somehow it will change. And frustration also can change. But not everybody who's frustrated takes up God consciousness also. Many people drink when they are frustrated to forget God. So it's very difficult sometimes. Hare Krishna. Okay. So, but by regularly chanting and hearing only, we can get some taste. Correct? Otherwise, we don't get taste.
Yes, and it is also. Let's go ahead, Mataji.
No, go ahead.
So yes, Prabhuji was saying that not everybody getting that taste in chanting and hearing. So one devotee was saying that, and even I also experienced that. Because we don't know that how many, we have, I assume that, I'm talking about myself, I assume that there is a mountain of sins. And by chanting, sometimes we don't realize that we are not getting any taste or not ecstasy, feeling that ecstasy, but invisibly, that is invisible, but all the sins will it's removing the sins by chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. And once it will, all the past sinful activities, if it all went away, it like cleansed away. And then even in the present life also, we intentionally, non-intentionally, we have done. So once it all cleansed, then we started feeling like that ecstasy and taste in the chanting. And it will take many years also. Like somebody take 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 years, and 50 years also, because everybody's conditioning is different. Their past lives were different. But the good thing is that we are not experiencing it, but it affects. Like if you go to the somebody wants to um, because practice makes a man perfect. Before going to the, even in the sports also, we have to practice day and night. And then just for like any football game or any even cricket game also, they have done like all the physical, mental, psychological, they do practice. They are maintaining themselves. And not everybody doing well in the, if you talk about the cricket match, not everybody is star. Some of them, because they have done so much hard work before then, we haven't seen that. And if you go to the gym also, like we don't realize that, oh, it's nothing changing. But we do continuously with determination, even every day, every single day. If we do it, then one day we will see the change. So it's similarly like chanting. If all our the sinful um, reactions we have done in our past life, present life, it will all go away, washed away. And then we feel that um, ecstasy, that feel that closeness, presence of the Lord. Um, that's what I think.
I'm just saying about myself. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's about doing the right things and avoiding the wrong things also. Anukulyasya sankalpan pratikulyasya varjanam. Somebody who sincerely desires to progress and have that taste in chanting. It might take time. It takes more time because we are doing activities that are not favorable for Krishna consciousness. And my comment was that for the pure devotees, devotional service is intoxicating, as this verse is saying. Same Parikshit Maharaj is saying that because of my vow on the verge of death, I have given up even drinking water. Yet because I'm drinking the nectar of topics of Krishna flowing from your mouth, Shukdev Goswami, my hunger and thirst, which are very difficult to bear, cannot hinder me. So they rise above eating, sleeping, meeting, and defending, as this verse is saying. Even those who are intoxicated, like Srila Prabhupada, wouldn't even sleep that much, maybe 2 to 3 hours, and so with the 6 Goswamis, right?
Yes.
So they're also intoxicated and addicted in the right way.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's all the sadhana affect our where we are actually, in which association we are, what type of environment we are living. Because that time the pure devotees, like Mataji was saying about the Parikshit Maharaj, the 6 Goswamis, like that time and this time is completely different, right? In this time we try to avoid. It's very difficult to avoid completely everything. We are we are living in so much advanced, technologically advanced world. We have using social media, we are connecting with the people. And those who are even materialistic people, we have, if you want to convert them or if you want to talk about Krishna, then you have to listen them also. And everybody is not ready to accept and not accept that philosophy at one time. So we have to go by that way, right? Even if I'm talking about myself, I'm also not that stage that I can um, I can accept everything at once. So I find it's difficult, but if we, yeah, as Mataji was saying, it's all depend our desires, how much we are strongly we desire, and how much we determine that no, I have to make time in a day, and that time is that time actually this is what we are doing in the morning. That in the morning there's no distractions, and we do in that time, and that 2 hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. So it will gives you that much strength, so you can go out in the material world and face that challenges, because it resonates in your mind whole day. um, yeah, otherwise it's very difficult to survive within this environment, because everybody is not living like in a day to night in the association of a devotee who is always talking about Krishna, reading about Krishna. So yeah.
Anything else? Yeah, so we have to see what is favorable, avoid things unfavorable, and avoiding unfavorable things is also depending on so many things. So anarthas and strength in devotional service, and which again comes back to devotional service. Because if we do devotional service, only we get the strength. We have to have desire, and then Krishna will give the strength. We engage in devotional service too.
So, Prabhuji, with regard to choice, every moment in our life, we have choice to make.
Yeah.
So, it goes along with what you said. If you have the desire, you'll be able to make the right choice. Because you're getting an option to fulfill that desire, or go the other route. So again, with practice, you'll be able to know or make the right choice slowly. I can just relate to myself, beginning when I came and he used to invite me for the home programs. I used to tag along for some, and then some I couldn't. And he's like, "You don't want to come, or are you making a choice not to come?" And he said, if you don't want to come, then you choose not to come, rather than he's saying that I have some other excuse and all that kind of stuff. So just wanted to mention that.
I think there was some article by Raj Bihari right before that we were reading. He was saying that, I choose not to come. Sometimes we say, yes, I cannot do this, but the underlying thing is I choose not to do this, or I choose to do this, which is not favorable. So we are making a conscious choice. We say, oh, my circumstances like this, I cannot come. But I ultimately, it's true in one sense, something is going on, but I choose not to. It may sound a little bit, somebody say, oh, my child is sick, so I cannot do this or that. It's true. I mean, I cannot come to temple, or I cannot do this service. But also, sometimes we have created other priorities that we think are more important. So I choose this priority over another priority of coming and hearing and whatever devotional service like that. So some article was there by Raj Bihari Prabhu, I think he wrote before. And isn't it? Did anybody remember that?
Yes. But there is also no material limitations in
Correct.
practicing bhakti, right? Even if your situation, you're not able to go somewhere, right? You can still practice bhakti, like chant the holy name, hear a katha while doing other duties. So nothing can stop you really to think about Krishna
That's a good
if you
point.
really want to.
That's a good point. Yes. You can be in any situation and be Krishna conscious. So, and you may go to the temple and not be Krishna conscious also. So, because you're thinking of something else. So, that's there. For the advanced devotees, yes. I was just talking on general about people who we say, come, please come. And then they say, no, there is a football game. And they're not thinking of Krishna while they are in the football game, but they choose that this football game is more important than uh, you know uh, hearing from, let's say, some sannyasi has come to the temple and like that. So correct. For the advanced devotees, yeah, they can be Krishna conscious in any situation of life. So material conditions cannot hamper, right? Because they are in love with Krishna, so they can think of Krishna everywhere. Like Prabhupada says, if you take a typewriter to the heavenly planets, it will still do typewriting. That's its quality. And he also gave the example that if you take a cow anywhere, the cow will give milk. Like so, the whether the cow is in India or cow is in America, it will still give milk. So the devotee, he can remember Krishna.
Yesterday we heard an analogy of the housewife, right? She does all the home responsibility, but she never forgets to tie her hair or comb her hair.
Yes. So, yeah, if you're, and we want to come to that platform because a time will come when our physical body may not work and so many different things can go on in life. We want to come to the platform to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So,
And that we can do with more you sweat during peace, less you will bleed during war. In nicer situation, try to do as much as you can so that when difficulties arising, you're not able to, but you can still remember Krishna.
yeah, prepare when the time is good. Make hay while the sun shines. So, opportunity is there. Yeah, somebody was saying that you are young, you're not young, but they say, yeah, you have the opportunity to. Now you're healthy. Don't lose this opportunity because the person who was sick was telling me like that later on you may not get that opportunity when your body is giving so much trouble. So it's very difficult also. So let's do as much as we can while we have the opportunity. Okay. Prabhupada was Krishna conscious even like while leaving the body, right? He was dictating purports very clearly. May not happen when there is a headache. You get a strong headache and your body is paining. It's very difficult. And right now we can't realize because we can't feel the pain of somebody who's going through that. Yeah, you say something.
Yeah, in the purport, Prabhupada says, right? Conditioned souls are under the spell of material energy or eternal time, past, present, and future. But as soon as one engages in Krishna consciousness, he transcends the limits of past and present and becomes situated in eternal activities of the soul. So the soul, material problems, right? Even eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, the soul does not want it. So the poor devotees are acting on the level of the soul. Brahma Bhuta, maybe Prasannatma.
Like you were saying, like Parikshit Maharaj, he transcended the activities of the body and he came to the soul doesn't, of course the body needs, the soul doesn't need. So also, yeah, if you transcends the limits of the pains in which one feels in the body and one comes to the higher, very elevated stage. But so we are here only for a short time, and of course we have to more and more understand. We have to more and more remember that I am the soul who is just passing in this body for a few years, and then I will change my body. Prabhupada emphasizes this, like constant transmigration of the soul. We are constantly going from one body to another in this material existence. So remembering all this, can help become like our desire to become Krishna conscious can increase when we remember that, yes, I have nothing actually, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na Shojati na Kankshati. I have nothing to really achieve in this world. I'm just passing through in this world for a few years. There's nothing really I can say it's mine. So, like that. Because we have seen so many people die, right? I mean, and when we see like somebody's dead body, we think, yeah, one day my body will be like that. I'll be there. I mean, I will not be there. My body will be like there in this situation. We go to funeral and we see, other people's body, and then one way we should think, yes, one day there'll be funeral for me. So, in this way, we can become little sober about the purpose of life and what did this person take with him? Nothing he took. Everything is left behind and it's all forgotten. In due course of time, all the relationships, all the memories, sometimes we have memories and we have photo albums of so many memories. But as time moves on, and time nobody can stop, it's all lost in oblivion. Of course, you may say, well, my grandchildren and their children will. Now we have technology. Previously, there were no pictures. So people could not, no camera was there. 300, 400 years back, they didn't have this kind of. So now you can say, okay, they will see, but where will you be at that time? You will have no connection with that family. You will be in some other family where you'll be making some new memories and you are thinking, this is my memory, and you will be creating a new photo album there. So we have created so many photo albums like that in so many lifetimes, but none of them we remember. So this photo album is also going to be forgotten in a few years. And once you're out of the body, it's like that. So this is all kind of, it binds, when you create all these things and say, oh, sometimes during marriage anniversary, 25 years, they will show all the past and say, oh, this is how we got married, this is where we met. But what consequence that has on your eternal life? Nothing. When you leave this world, you'll forget who is your father, mother, husband, wife. And then again, next situation. So you have some memories, people make big albums for their marriage, Of course, we also have our album, but the thing is, what has that to do? Like Chitraketu Maharaj's son was saying, in which birth were this mother and father? I've gone through so many births, I don't even remember. In which birth? So like that, we have had all these things in so many lifetimes, and we have created so many memories like that, but they're all forgotten due course of time, and we move on. So, so it's like, it's an illusion. But, okay. Of course, this is like, maybe I'm talking, but to realize is difficult. To realize also, and it's like a renunciation kind of talk. So,
I was remembering the drama we saw in Mayapur,
uh-huh.
Narad Muni, right? And he says, Krishna, show me Maya, or he was proud and Krishna showed him his Maya. He got married and he had children and wife, and they were nicely. The Bollywood song was going on in the background, and then there was a flood and everybody got separated. And it was, it had an impression on my mind how, everybody would get separated at the end of life. Everybody would follow their own path, and we're not eternally related to each other, however nice time we had in the past. As long as we can help each other progress in Krishna consciousness, the association is a waste of time.
Correct, yes. Yeah, I may have a lot of affection for somebody, but If Krishna is not there in the picture, then what's the point? It's going to be broken. So, actual true affection can be only when Krishna is in the center. And we see everybody as part and parcel of Krishna. Everybody is Krishna's part and parcel, spirit, soul. Like that. Krishna loves them, everybody. So, Krishna loves all the living entities. And because Krishna loves them, I should serve them, and in a way that they can come closer to Krishna. So, okay, means talking about Krishna, chanting about Krishna together like that. Okay, we can stop here. It's 8 o'clock. I think we went a little bit longer with Bhagavatam. So, we can read the Uddhav's pastime, Brahmar Geet. Should we read that or something else?
Yes, please.
Since the perfection of such austerity was completely manifested in the lives of the gopis, Uddhav was fully satisfied upon seeing the transcendental position. So Uddhav saw how they were attached to Krishna, and he was feeling very satisfied. A devotee feels very satisfied seeing other devotees very attached to Krishna. So Uddhav is also a devotee. They also said, I don't know if it's mentioned, Uddhav also developed some pride. So Krishna sent him to Vrindavan. I don't know if it's in the scripture. Yesterday at the program, Saturday program, I was mentioning that Uddhav went to Vrindavan to get higher education, to learn more. But then some person also told me that, yes, Uddhav also had pride in his heart that he was the best devotee or something like that. And Krishna sent him to Vrindavan to learn from the gopis. And in this way, to see, when you have pride, but when you see somebody has, more than you, then your pride becomes diminished.
Yeah, they show that in the TV Krishna series.
Oh, okay. So maybe they
Ramananda Sagars, yeah, that he had pride.
Yeah,
but it needs to be scripturally,
correct.
Verified.
Correct. So they may have also seen the serial.
He was also a Jnani, that we know. And Madhurya Ras is above, than that.
Yeah, so he spoke to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. I was hearing Lal Govind Prabhu yesterday. He was saying that. Whole night he spoke about how Krishna is all pervading. Then after that, Uddhav was thinking that Nanda Maharaj would now understand and his separation would diminish. And then after that he asked, so when is Krishna coming back to Vrindavan? So Uddhav was thinking that I told all these things, but so because they are treating them as their son, they don't know he's God or something. Sometimes they say like that, I don't know, but
I think he is in that. That drama it was showing. I also saw that episode, and I think I feel like that he's like his guru is Brihaspati, and he was more knowledgeable. So he is more inclined towards the Gyan Yoga. He is believing on impersonalism. Like he feels like that you are a Jyoti, Brahma Jyoti.
And that's not true. I don't think that's true. He's not like, because exactly. he's a great devotee of Krishna. He's not an impersonalist, or maybe in the drama it's shown incorrectly that he's thinking that because outside Vrindavan he's the greatest devotee. So he's wearing Krishna's. He has devotion to Krishna. He's not.
Yeah, he says Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead.
Unless I see a verse where he says that in person, he never. Yeah.
No, he said to the parents. Nanda and Yashoda, that he's a supreme personality of God and he's a father of everyone. So he's regarding him as person,
Correct.
but that bhav is not there. Like he's a Paramatma in the heart. So, I mean,
Like
what do you call? I don't know what we call that, but
awe and reverence mood, right?
Aishwarya.
Yeah. Okay. When Uddhav said that he had a message from Krishna, the gopis were more interested in hearing the message than in hearing about their exalted position. So they didn't. Uddhav is praising, oh, you are very exalted, but they didn't want to hear what they were. They want to hear what Krishna has to say. Okay, let me see. Is this the right place or not? I think we are in the right place. So he praised the gopis that how you have become fully absorbed in Krishna. But gopis are more interested in hearing the message than in hearing about their exalted position. So they are more focused on Krishna than hearing how good they are or whatever. They did not very much like being praised for their high position. So they are humble also. So maybe they don't like to hear. They would like to hear what Krishna has to say, what is Krishna doing. They showed their anxiety to hear the message Uddhav had brought from Krishna. Uddhav said, my dear gopis, I am especially deputed to carry this message to you, who are such great and gentle devotees. Krishna has specifically sent me to you, because I am his most confidential servitor. Uddhav did not deliver the gopis the written message brought from Krishna, but he personally read it to them. He did not give the letter to them, but he read from the letter. He said, here is the letter, you read it yourself. No. He was reading from the letter. The message was very gravely written so that not only the gopis but all empiric philosophers might understand how pure love of God is intrinsically integrated with all different energies of the Supreme Lord. Okay, what did Krishna write? From Vedic information, it is understood that Supreme Lord has multi-energies, Parasya Shakti Vivadeva Shvete. Also, the gopis were such intimate personal friends of Krishna that while he was writing the message for them, he was so moved that he could not write distinctly. So Krishna was, maybe his hands were trembling. I think we read that he was writing, but he was not able to write in the Shivaram Maharaj's book. Maybe it was there. That he could not write properly because he was remembering the gopis. Uddhav, as a student of Brihaspati, had very sharp intelligence. So instead of handing over the written message, he thought it wise to read it personally and explain it to them. So maybe the handwriting was not very clear, Krishna's handwriting, because he could not write distinctly. Uddhav thought maybe they will not be able to understand the handwriting. I will read it to them. Uddhav continued, these are the words of the personality of Godhead. So now Krishna is speaking. My dear gopis, my dear friends, please know the separation between ourselves is impossible at any time, at any place, or under any circumstances, because I am all pervading. Again, that kind of philosophy Krishna is saying. I am all pervading. This all pervasiveness of Krishna is explained in Bhagavad Gita in both 9th and 7th chapters. In 9th chapter, Krishna is described as all pervasive in his impersonal feature. Which one was that? Everything rests in him, but he's not personally present everywhere. Maya tatamidam jagatavyakthamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani deshva avastitah.
9th chapter.
Huh?
Yeah, 9:4.
And in the 7th chapter, it is stated that the 5 gross elements and the 3 subtle elements are all his inferior energies. But there is another superior energy which is called the living entity. भूम्यपो नलो वायु खम मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहंकार इत्यम में भिन्ना प्रकृति अष्टदा अपरयमितस्त्वान्यम प्रकृतिम विधि में पराम जीवभूत महाबाहो या इदम धार्यते जगत. These are the two verses, Prabhupada. The living entities are also directly part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is both the material and efficient cause of everything. This is all the philosophy Prabhupada is expressing, how he is all pervading. It's not in the letter, but Prabhupada is giving the. Therefore, Krishna is both the material and efficient cause of everything. He is always intermingled with everything as cause and effect. Not only the gopis, but all living entities are always inseparably connected with Krishna in all circumstances. The gopis, however, are perfectly and thoroughly in cognition of this relationship with Krishna, whereas the living entities under the spell of Maya, the illusory energy, are forgetful of Krishna and think themselves separate identities having no connection with him. Love of Krishna or Krishna consciousness is therefore the perfection of real knowledge in understanding things as they are. Our minds can never be vacant. The mind is constantly occupied with some kind of thought, and the subject matter of such thought cannot be outside the 8 elements of Krishna's energy. One who knows this philosophical aspect of all thoughts is actually a wise man. He surrenders to Krishna. The gopis are the epitome of this perfectional stage of knowledge. They are not simple mental speculators. Their minds are always in Krishna. The mind is nothing but the energy of Krishna. Actually, any person who can think, feel and will cannot be separated from Krishna. Because mind is also Krishna's energy. But the stage in which he can understand his eternal relationship with Krishna is called Krishna consciousness. The disease condition in which he cannot understand his eternal relationship with Krishna is the contaminated stage or Maya. Since the gopis are on the platform of pure transcendent knowledge, their minds are always filled with Krishna consciousness. For example, as there is no separation between fire and air, there is no separation between Krishna and the living entities. When the living entities forget Krishna, they are not in the normal condition. As for the gopis, because they are always thinking of Krishna, they are on the absolute stage of perfection in knowledge. The so-called empiric philosophers sometimes think that the path of bhakti is meant for less intelligent, but unless the so-called man of knowledge comes to the platform of bhakti, his knowledge is certainly impure and imperfect. So sometimes people say, yeah, the bhakti is for those who are less intelligent. But Prabhupada says, unless that philosopher comes to bhakti, then we say bhakti is the highest. Gyan and everything is all secondary. And if the jnani doesn't come to bhakti, then it is not worthwhile. Actually, the stage of forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with Krishna is separation. Like we say that Devahuti says that verse, right? Once karma doesn't bring him to dharma, religious. Once dharma doesn't result in renunciation. And if renunciation doesn't lead to bhakti, then
he must be considered dead although he's breathing.
So actually the stage of our forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with Krishna is separation. But that is also illusory because there is no such separation. Really we can't be separate from Krishna. In the illusory energy is also Krishna's energy. So in that sense also we are connected with Krishna because it is Krishna's energy. As Prabhupada says here, we cannot really be separated. Actually any person who can think, feel and will cannot be separated from Krishna. Means any person, everybody thinks, feels and wills, right? Because that is also Krishna's energy. Mind is also Krishna's energy. So, but he said, when we can understand our eternal relationship with Krishna, it is called Krishna consciousness. The other thing is also we are connected with Krishna, but it is the stage of Maya, in the contaminated stage. So we can analyze, if we don't serve Krishna, then we have to serve illusory energy. We can see that in our life. Whenever we fail to serve Krishna, we are serving the illusory energy. We are our own material desires, we are serving them. So, yeah, it is one or the other. But serving Krishna directly is considered devotional service. And serving Maya is also serving Krishna because Maya is also Krishna's servant. but it is not considered devotional service. That's only the difference. Sometimes somebody asked this question that if Maya is Krishna's servant and we are serving Maya, then we are servant of the servant. Then why it is not considered bhakti, right? Because in bhakti we say Gopi Bhartu Padakamalaya or Dasa Dasanudas. We are serving Maya. Maya is also Krishna's servant. Shishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Chaiva Yasya Bhuvanani Bibharti Durga Ichhanurupam Piyasya Cheshtate Sa Govindamadi Purusham Tam. Ichhanurupam is she's acting according to the desires of Krishna. So, because it is not anukul, like so, thinking of Krishna has to be anukul, and service also has to be anukul. Krishna doesn't want that we serve Maya, so that's why it's not considered devotional service. We can say like that. I don't know. I just thought.
I mean, the definition of Maya is that which is not. Like if you see something disconnected with Krishna, that is Maya. Durga Devi is someone who controls that. Maya, right? So she is a servant of Krishna. Maya Devi, not Maya, is a servant of Krishna. I mean, Maya definition is not like he's a person.
Maya Devi, we are talking about Maya Devi.
Yeah, Maya Devi is a servant of Krishna, yeah.
So if we serve Maya Devi, then we are okay. That's what you are
Well,
saying.
serving demigods in the sense that only, yeah, we can pray to demigods, but we ask for bhakti, right? Not for material things, material desires. Even Katyayani Vrat, they were worshipping that form only, Durga Devi.
So Maya is the illusory energy. You're saying it's not the real person, it's the energy, which is, yeah.
Yeah, the definition of Maya is
Correct. So maybe that way, yes. Okay.
How will you distinguish between like Maya Devi and Maya? Because Maya Devi creates Maya, right?
But
yeah,
So
but
how
definition
will
of
you?
Maya is also Atmendriya Priti. Serving actually means unconditionally serving someone, right? But serving Maya means we are serving our own senses. Atmendriya Priti Vanchatare Bhalikam. Krishnendra Priti Ichhadhare Prem Nam. That's the difference between lust and love. Lust is when we are trying to satisfy our own senses. So in that way, we are serving our senses and serving Maya.
correct. So we are not really serving, we are serving our own senses also. Okay, whichever way we can look at it, yes. Okay, the gopis were not situated in that illusory condition of life, so even from the philosophical point of view, or for them, there was no separation. Actually, the stage of forgetfulness of your eternal relationship with Krishna is separation, but that is also illusory because there is no such separation. Because nothing exists outside of Krishna. So, in one sense, we cannot be separated because it's all part of Krishna's energy. But of course, we know we can be separated in Krishna Bhulya. We can forget Krishna. Uddhav continued reading Krishna's message. So now he's continuing with the message. Nothing is separate from me. So Krishna is also saying all the philosophical aspects to the gopis. The whole cosmic manifestation is resting on me and is not separate from me. Before the creation, I was existing. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature, Eko Narayana Sinna Brahma Nashana. Before creation, there was only Narayan. There was no Brahma and Shiva, no Shiva. The whole cosmic manifestation is manipulated by the three modes of material nature. It is said that Brahma, the incarnation of the quality of passion, created this universe. Brahma is the secondary creator. The original creator is Narayan. This is confirmed by Shankaracharya. Narayana Paro Vyaktat. This Prabhupada says many times. Narayana Paro Vyakta Avyaktat. Narayan is transcendental beyond this cosmic creation. In this way, nothing within this cosmic creation is separate from Krishna, although Krishna's original form is not visible in everything. Yeah, nothing is separate from Krishna because it is Krishna's energy. It has come from him. So only two sentences we read from Krishna's letter. Then Prabhupada explains the whole thing. Krishna creates, maintains, and annihilates the whole cosmic manifestation by expanding himself in different incarnations. Everything is Krishna and everything depends on Krishna, but is not perceived in the material energy. And therefore it is called Maya or illusion. Krishna is not perceived in the material energy. Well, Krishna says you can think of me when you see sunlight, you can see moonlight, you can think of me, yes. But if you don't see like that, then we are not perceiving. In the spiritual energy, however, Krishna is perceived at every step in all circumstances. This perfectional stage of understanding is represented by the gopis. So they want to see the Bhagwan aspect. They don't want to see the Paramatma aspect, how Krishna is all pervading, and they want to see the Supreme Lord in his personal form. So, although Krishna is present everywhere, they want to see Krishna in person. As Krishna is always aloof from the cosmic manifestation, although it is completely dependent on him. So a living entity is completely aloof from this material conditioned life. Although the material body has developed on the basis of spiritual existence. So we have nothing to do with this body and everything. The mind also. Just as Krishna is aloof, we are also aloof from our actual material situation. If we think like that, that I have nothing to really do in this material existence, then we can focus on what we need to do, like the activities of the soul. But when we think I have to do this, I have to get my PhD degree, I have to get this, of course, we have to live in this world, we have to be practical, so we have to do some career like that. But it is not necessary. Even if you don't have a career, many devotees didn't have a career, but they are living, they are sustained. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur left his education like that because he thought, oh, if I get education and a career, then there'll be some pressure on me to enter household life and things like that. And he lived. So everybody can live. It's not like we think. Of course, you may say, well, if I don't have a career, I may have to struggle very hard and make my ends meet. Yes, but yeah, it's according to your karma, you are destined a certain kind of material happiness and comforts and distress, which will come. Even if I'm not advocating this, that we don't, but we are thinking that I have to do this, I have to do that, and I have to. But when we become completely situated in our spiritual identity as the soul, then we say, I have nothing to do in this material world. I have nothing to actually accomplish in this world except do devotional service. So that's, you become like kind of aloof. Prabhupada is talking about aloof. Asango hi ayam purusha. There is a Vedic saying that, yes, the soul has nothing to do with this. Asanga. In the Bhagavad Gita, the whole cosmic manifestation is accepted as the mother of the living entities and Krishna is the father. But because of the influence of Maya, we think, I have to do this, I have to get this, I have to arrange for this, I have to do that. So, the whole cosmic manifestation is accepted as the mother of the living entity. Krishna is the father. As the father impregnates the mother by injecting the living entity within the womb, Krishna injects all the living entities in the womb of the material nature by his glance. They come out in different bodies according to their different fruitive activities. But in all circumstances, the living entity is aloof from this material conditioned life. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there it says the soul is kind of aloof. There's a verse. Because soul is just the observer. I mean, in one sense, it's not really doing anything. The soul does nothing. But the soul is desiring. And that is why Krishna has given this body to fulfill those desires and to get the experience that the soul wants. So, I think in the later chapter, the soul is unaffected by everything. No, that is that other verse. So everything what we are experiencing. Uh, yeah.
The fifth chapter, it was this verse.
Which one? Yeah, correct. Is also that's yeah. I think that's the verse. You would read the verse. Yeah.
A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening, closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and he is aloof from.
Nice. Yeah. So internally, those who are self, I mean, they are doing their evacuation, and the body has to eat something, but he's he's aloof. So
He's also not in control of those things, how the evacuation, digestion,
right.
how is he speaking, all these activities he has no control of. I mean, he's desiring, but Krishna has to sanction for all.
Yeah, we know we have constipation or something, then nothing is under our control. Yeah, we are just situated in this body, and it's just going on, and so yeah, that's I think.
One of the verse also Krishna says that the spirit soul bewildered by the influence of false ego, and they think that they are the doer of activities. But
Right.
actually it all carried by the three modes of material nature. Prakriti kriya manandi, guna karmani sarvasa ahankar atma karta hamiti manyate. So
Correct.
he also says that.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Yeah, so we say that the spirit soul is not the only doer. There are other doers also. There are 5 doers.
yeah. 1814, I think. I
Soul
mean,
is one of them. Yeah, soul is one of them. Place, soul, body, endeavor, and super soul. 5 factors to an action.
he's doer in the sense that he's desiring. So,
Mhm.
yeah, he's desiring, and then super soul, Krishna is providing the field of activity in the body and all that. So ultimately, our best is that we have to change our desires. Ultimately, you have to change your desires. That's the only thing.
And if
Prabhuji,
desires come,
Huh?
should know that, I mean, more we are situated that I'm not this body, I'm not the mind, right? I'm a spirit soul and acting through the activities of the spirit
Spirit
soul.
soul, which is devotional activities, devotional service.
Yeah. Because desires would come like waves of the ocean. Puryamana Machila Pratishta.
Yeah, it's yeah. In the contaminated state, so many desires come, material desires come, and but if like we say, like if you the good dog and the bad dog and all that. So those desires, if you don't act on those bad desires, then it will die down. It will not come again. The more you contemplate on those desires become stronger, and the more it gives up. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's why I mean Prabhupada in all the classes focus on I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul, and that's the basic thing that we have not realized yet, and that's why we are under all these material designations. I am this, I am a male, I am a female. Based on that we think and act.
Yeah, like I have a body and I think I'm male and I'm seeing some female and things. Yeah, they have different, but Yeah, if I'm thinking I'm soul, then I'll see others also as souls. So they're not their body. Like Shukdev Goswami was not seeing anybody as in terms of very elevated. That's why the ladies did not cover themselves because they're thinking, yeah, this person is not seeing in terms of body. He's seeing that we are spirit souls. So that is also.
So Prabhuji basically he says that our soul is desiring. So we need to change our desires of soul, right? And if you see the chariot analogy, and soul is and even verse is also their mind is intelligence is above their mind, and soul is above their intelligence. So if soul is like super intelligent, so if how and then we said that and our mind is also material, and so soul is spiritual. We said that soul is as good as Krishna, super soul, because we are qualitatively same, right? um, so if something is spiritual, um, how why it desiring separating from Krishna, first thing. And second thing, if soul is a highest than intelligence, then how we can change the consciousness by using the intelligence and discriminate it.
No, there is spiritual intelligence, there is material intelligence. Soul also has a spiritual form and spiritual, so we have to use our spiritual intelligence to subdue the material intelligence. Basically, that's what it is. So there is a material intelligence which helps the mind to carry out its desires. So intelligence is sometimes said that it is manufactured from the mode of passion. Mind is in the mode of goodness, and we think why, how it is intelligence, but that is material intelligence, because material intelligence actually plans on how to fulfill the desires of the material mind. So yeah, it's so soul has also in spiritual world also they think. Radharani is thinking, right? So many things. Yesterday we were how her thoughts were going from one. She's now Radharani has a spiritual body, right? She's not just like Krishna doesn't have a material body. How can the associates of Krishna who are eternal associates from the spiritual world, they don't also have material body, but she's thinking. She's thinking Krishna is like this and Krishna must be doing this and now. So there is thought process also in the spiritual world and they have the mind also, but it is spiritual mind. And you can't distinguish. That's why we say we can't distinguish between Krishna and Krishna's body. Because Krishna is all spiritual. It's not like we have our separate, in the material world, we have our body and then we have the mind, the subtle body and the gross body, and then there is the soul. For Krishna and all in the spiritual world, there is no thing like that. There is subtle body, gross body, and it is there, but it is all Satchidananda Vigraha. The mind is there, but it is all part of the whole. Everything is spiritual. There is no matter in the. So something like that.
Yeah, that is true. Spiritual intelligence, mind, body is in the spiritual world. Do we carry the spiritual intelligence and material intelligence together in this material world?
Soul has, because soul has they said the Satchidananda body is there in the soul, but it is compressed, and that's why we say it is Keshagra Satabhagasya. It is 1/10,000th part of the. So it is very minute, like the point. But when the soul goes back to the spiritual world, it attains its form, whatever the form it has, as a Gopa, Gopi, whatever. So we have, but because it is not, because we desire not to use that here, so it is not manifest. We don't need spiritual intelligence because we have come here to enjoy. So that has been covered over by the matters, this material. So we are, because that's not required here, spiritual intelligence. But as we practice devotional service, then now we are saying now I want to use my spiritual form. So that spiritual form is also revealed, which is there as our identity as the soul. Because now we have to serve Krishna with spiritual senses and spiritual things. So that will be revealed as we engage in devotional service. But otherwise, it's not needed. So it is kind of covered because we have desire to enjoy in the material world separately from Krishna. So it has been compressed in that small particle, Kanashraya. So, yeah, it's difficult to all explain it, all these things, understand
So
also.
whenever we are talking about that, we have to discriminate by using our intelligence. So that is talking about the spiritual intelligence, not the material intelligence.
Correct. Spiritual
And
intelligence obtained from
yeah,
Shastra, from Guru, Sadhu.
yeah. So that is in dormant stage, and by doing our devotional process services, we try to awaken our spiritual intelligence, and then
Yeah, our whole spiritual form will be awakened by
right.
engaging in devotional service. And then, that's why they say that the spiritually advanced people, they know who they are in the spiritual world because they are, it has been awakened there for devotional service, they know. But as long as we are in this, our material, desires and things, that's not needed to know who we are in the spiritual world. So something like that. Is that correct? What do you think? Sugandha want to say anything?
Yeah, it's correct. The desires, it's the desires of the soul, because as you said, mind is material, right? Mind cannot desire. So the desires that are coming from is that the soul is contaminated by the subtle body, right? Mind, intelligence, and false ego.
I mean, soul has contaminated desires, so that's why it has to have a material body to fulfill those desires. So, material mind,
Mhm.
it's been given that kind of.
Yeah, but we do say that soul is a Satchidananda, it's pure. But right now it's not. It has become contaminated.
Yeah,
Conditioned souls.
yes.
Yeah, this is what Mataji was saying. Correct. This is what my confusion, Mataji. And we say that we are saying good as a Satchidanand. So that's
Yeah. So
So,
that's why the term uses conditioned souls.
conditions. Yeah.
yeah.
Means consciousness is contaminated. Our consciousness is contaminated. The Yeah, instead of focusing on Krishna, like we are looking the other way. So the soul is directed its consciousness on the other direction. So so we are they like they say in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad that Krishna is with us, but we are looking the other way, and so we have to just turn back to Krishna. We have to just move, turn our desires to Krishna, and instead of desires are directed towards sense gratification. So, but that turning around is is it takes some time. That's like Prabhupada says, you can surrender in one moment. Means you can turn around in one moment. You can just and you say, I will never look back on this other side, never turn away from you. But it's not easy because that this side is so attractive. The one we are looking away from Krishna appears to be so attractive to the soul that he doesn't like the story of Akbar and Birbal, right? How that old man was looking at even the last stage of his life. So it is so attractive, this whole material creation and so many things in this world is so attractive that we don't want to look away from it. Even though Krishna is more attractive, but we have become enamored with this. So,
The Kali Yuga environment is such that it's very hard to remain in that state unless you become totally, aloof from the world. But should also not do that. That's why Prabhupada said Maya is not strong, your purpose. I mean, it's not that Maya is strong, it's your purpose is not strong. But we get influenced by things around us. And again, go back to our previous ways.
correct. Yeah. So that's why, Yeah, we have to change. Like if you are an alcoholic, better not go where they're selling alcohol. If you're not an alcoholic, you may pass by a alcohol shop, but you will not be attracted. So yeah, it's like the pure devotee, like he can be in this material world and him not be attracted by anything of this material world because his consciousness is pure. So that way also.
Distance yourself from temptations that you should have fear of falling down.
And even pure devotees have that fear. So they're always praying to Krishna.
Precautions
Yeah.
and praying.
Yeah. So we should always think of ourselves vulnerable and take precautions. If we simply study our own bodies, we can understand how a living entity is always aloof from this bodily engagement. So the letter is only, we read only 3-4 lines. So all the philosophies. Every action of the body takes place by the interaction of the three modes of material nature. We can see at every moment many changes taking place in our bodies, but the spirit soul is aloof from all changes. Means he's observing, yeah, my body was young, my body is older now, my body is getting even older. So one can neither create nor annihilate nor interfere with the actions of material nature. So we cannot interfere. The material nature is taking its own course. Like we say, the body is going through its own transformations, and we cannot interfere. We cannot stop this aging process. It's going on. 10 years, 15 years, will be more older. The living entities are therefore entrapped by the material body and conditioned in 3 stages, namely while awake, sleep, and unconscious. The mind, so that is like Jagrati, Susupti, Swapna. The mind acts through all the 3 conditions of life. The living entity in his sleeping or dreaming conditions sees something as real, and when awake he sees the same thing as unreal. It is concluded, therefore, that under certain circumstances he accepts something as real, and under other circumstances he accepts the very same thing as unreal. These matters are the subject of the study for empiric philosopher or the Sankhya Yogi. To come to the right conclusion, Sankhya yogis undergo severe austerities and penances, practicing control of the senses and renunciation. All these different ways of determining the ultimate goal of life are compared to rivers, and Krishna is compared to ocean. As the rivers flow down towards the ocean, all attempts for knowledge flow towards Krishna. So ultimately, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. So it has to come to Krishna. Krishna is the ocean. Whichever path of knowledge, there are different schools of philosophy. Ultimately, it all ends in Krishna. After many births of endeavor, when one actually comes to Krishna, he attains the perfectional stage. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Klesho adhikatarastesham avyaktaksas asapta chetasam. All are pursuing the path of realizing me, but those who have adopted courses without any bhakti find their endeavor very troublesome. Krishna cannot be understood unless one comes to the point of bhakti. 3 paths are enunciated in Bhagavad Gita: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Those who are too much addicted to fruitive activities are advised to perform actions which will bring them to bhakti. Like in the 12th chapter, Krishna says, if you can't practice Bhakti Yoga, then try to work for me. In this way, you will come to the perfect stage. So, those who are addicted to the pursuit of empiric philosophy are also advised to act in a way that they will realize bhakti. Karma yoga is therefore different from ordinary karma, and jnana yoga is different from ordinary jnana. Ultimately, as stated by Lord in Bhagavad Gita, bhaktya mama vijanati. Only through execution of devotional service can one understand Krishna. The perfectional stage of devotional service was achieved by the gopis because they did not care to know anything but Krishna. It is confirmed in the Vedas. Kasminnu bhagavate vikyate sarvamidam vigyatam bhavatiti. This means that simply by knowing Krishna, one automatically acquires all other knowledge. Uddhav continued reading Krishna's message. Transcendental knowledge of the Absolute is no longer necessary for you. You are accustomed to loving me from the very beginning of your lives. Knowledge of the absolute truth is specifically required for persons who want liberation from material existence. But one who has attained love for Krishna is already on the platform of liberation. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, anyone engaged in unallowed devotional service is considered to be situated on the transcendental platform of liberation. The gopis did not actually feel any pangs of material existence, but they felt the separation of Krishna. Krishna therefore said, "My dear gopis, to increase your super excellent love for me, I purposely separated myself from you, so that you may be in constant meditation on me." So in the letter, I think he's saying this, that I've separated myself from you so that you can be in constant meditation upon me. The gopis are in the perfectional stage of meditation. Yogis are generally more fond of meditating than of executing devotional service to the Lord. But they do not know that the perfection of yoga system is the attainment of devotion. So meditation ultimately should bring you to God, and then when you realize God, you want to engage in His service. So chanting, hearing, like that, other service. This constant meditation on Krishna by the gopis is confirmed when in the Bhagavad Gita to be the topmost yoga. Yoginam api sarvesham. Krishna knew very well the psychology of women. When a woman's beloved is away, she thinks of him more in meditation than when he is present before her. Krishna wanted to teach through the behavior of the gopis that one who is constantly in trance like the gopis surely attains his lotus feet. Lord Chaitanya taught people in general the method of Vipralambha Seva, which is the method of rendering service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in feeling of separation. The six Goswamis also taught worship of Krishna in the feelings of gopis in separation. The prayers composed by Srinivas Acharya about the Goswamis explain this matter very clearly. Srinivas Acharya said that the Goswamis were always absorbed in the ocean of transcendental feelings in the mode of gopis. When they lived in Vrindavan, they were searching for Krishna, crying, "Where are you? He Radhe Vraj Devike Lalite. Nanda Sunakuto, where are you? Oh Krishna, where are you? Radharani, where are you, Krishna? Oh gopis, where are you? Where
So,
are you?" Huh?
Prabhuji, you said that other day that these Goswamis, they were Manjuris, but their bhav was Gopi bhav, right?
Gopi Bhava Rasamrita Lahari. I mean, they are helping. Manjaris are those who assist gopis in their service to Krishna. So they never said, "We have now seen Radha and Krishna, therefore our mission is fulfilled." Yeah, in that, "He Radhe Vrajadevi ke Lalite. Lalita, O Radharani, where are you? Are you on the banks of Yamuna, or you are at the foot of Govardhan Hill? Where are you?" Like that. Or under some tree. That verse is there in that. Their mission remained always unfulfilled. They never met Radha and Krishna. Krishna reminded the gopis that at the time of Rasa dance, those gopis who could not join him for the Ras Leela gave up their bodies simply by thinking of him. Absorption in Krishna consciousness by feeling separation is thus the quickest method for attainment for the lotus feet of Krishna. But that can only happen when you have strong love for Krishna, then you feel separation. Otherwise, you don't feel separation. So, by the personal statement of Krishna, the gopis were convinced about the strength of feelings of separation. They were actually experiencing the supernatural method of Krishna worship and were much relieved by understanding that Krishna was not far away from them but was always with them. So, did they get convinced? When Krishna says that I have separated from you in the letter, this is, Prabhupada says, the gopis were convinced. The gopis therefore received Uddhav very happily and began to speak as follows. So Krishna's letter ended, only 4 lines we read, where Krishna says, "Yes, you were accustomed to loving me from the very beginning of your lives, and I have separated from you to increase your love for me." Okay. Lord Chaitanya taught people in general the method of Vipralambha Seva, which is the method of rendering service to the... Okay, I think we read that. Now gopis are speaking to Uddhav. "We have heard that King Kans, who was always a source of trouble for the Yadu dynasty, has now been killed. This is good news for us. We hope, therefore, that the members of Yadu dynasty are very happy in the association of Krishna, who can fulfill all the desires of his devotees. My dear Uddhav, kindly let us know whether Krishna sometimes thinks of us while in the midst of highly enlightened society girls in Mathura. We know that women and girls in Mathura are not village women. They are enlightened and beautiful. Their bashful, smiling glances and other feminine features must be very pleasing to Krishna. We know very well that Krishna is always fond of the behavior of beautiful women. It seems, therefore, that he has been entrapped by the women of Mathura. My dear Uddhav, will you kindly let us know if Krishna sometimes remembers us while in the midst of other women? Another gopi inquired, does he remember that night in the midst of Kumuda flowers and moonlight when Vrindavan became exceedingly beautiful? Krishna was dancing with us and the atmosphere was surcharged with the sound of footbells. We exchanged pleasing conversations then. Does he remember that particular night? We remember that night and we feel separation. Separation from Krishna makes us agitated, as if there were fire in our bodies. Does he propose to come back to Vrindavan to extinguish that fire, just as a cloud appears in the sky to extinguish a forest fire by its downpour? So they are asking that, yes, is Krishna going to come back? We are remembering him. Another gopi said, Krishna has killed his enemy and has victoriously achieved the kingdom of Kans. Maybe he is married with the king's daughter by this time and living happily among his kinsmen and friends. Therefore, why should he come to this village of Vrindavan? Why should Krishna come back? Somebody's common gopi is asking whether he'll come back to extinguish the fire that is we are feeling, fire of separation that we are feeling. Some other gopi is counteracting that, saying, why would he come to this village of Vrindavan? He must be married and he must have. Another gopi said, Krishna is the supreme personality of God, the husband of goddess of fortune, and is self-sufficient. He has no business. So another gopi is more in the Aishwarya Bhav, is saying. He has no business either with us, the girls in Vrindavan forest, or with the city girls in Mathura. He is the great super soul. He has nothing to do with any of us, either here or there. He is Atma Ram. Like that also in the Gopi Gita says, yes, you are the all-pervading in everybody's heart. Another gopi said, it is unreasonable hope for us to expect Krishna to come back to Vrindavan. We should try to be happy instead try to be happy in disappointment. Even Pingala, the great prostitute, said that disappointment is the greatest pleasure. We all know these things, but it is very difficult for us to give us the expectation of Krishna's coming back. So knowing all this, we still await Krishna's return. Who can forget a solitary conversation with Krishna, on whose chest the goddess of fortune always remains, in spite of Krishna's not desiring her? Lakshmi is also so attached to Krishna. My dear Uddhav, Vrindavan is the land of rivers, forests and cows. Here the vibration of flute was heard, and Krishna along with his elder brother Sri Balram enjoyed the atmosphere in our company. Thus the environment of Vrindavan constantly reminds us of Krishna and Balram. On the land of Vrindavan there are the impressions of his footprints, the residence of the goddess of fortune. So Lakshmi is there at the footprint, on the chest, and because of such signs we cannot forget Krishna. So Krishna used to walk barefoot in Vrindavan. His footprint got imbibed, not in Dwarka anywhere, only in Vrindavan he walks barefoot. And so that is why Vrajraj is very special, because it's touched by Krishna's and all the gopis. The gopis further expressed that Vrindavan was still full of all opulence and good fortune. There was no scarcity or want in Vrindavan, as far as material necessities were concerned. But in spite of such opulence, they could not forget Krishna and Balram. So everything was still very nice in Vrindavan. I mean, the rivers were flowing and everything, but they could not forget. We constantly remember various attractive features of beautiful Krishna, his walking, his smiling, his joking words. We have all become lost by the dealings of Krishna, and it is impossible for us to forget him. We always pray to him, exclaiming, Dear Lord, dear husband of goddess of fortune, dear Lord of Vrindavan, and deliverer of the distressed devotees. We have now fallen and merged into an ocean of distress. Please therefore come back to Vrindavan and deliver us from this pitiable condition. Uddhav, so they were all hankering for Krishna to come back. And Uddhav is hearing all this. Uddhav minutely studied the transcendental abnormal condition of the gopis in their separation from Krishna. And he thought it wise to repeat again and again all the pastimes they had enjoyed with him. Materialistic persons are always burning in a blazing fire of material miseries. The gopis were burning in a transcendental blazing fire due to separation from Krishna. The blazing fire exasperating the gopis, however, is different from the fire of material world. So, the fire of loving Krishna, separation from Krishna, is different from the fire of material sense gratification. So Prabhupada is making a distinction. In this material world also there is a blazing forest fire in everybody's heart for sense gratification. Then that's different from the gopis constantly wanted the association of Krishna, whereas materialistic person constantly want the advantage of material comforts. So it is like, iron and gold. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says. Both look alike, but they are metals, but they are different. Lust and love. It is stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Krishna saved the cowherd boys from the blazing forest fire within a second while their eyes were closed. Krishna swallowed all the forest fire. He told them to close their eyes because previously Krishna had
ignored and thinking they will complain to Mother Yashoda. Now he's eating fire.
That's one reason that Krishna asked them to close their eyes. Another reason is Krishna wanted to show how much faith the Vrajvasis have in his words. It's like you're in the middle of a forest fire and somebody says, you close your eyes, I will take care of you. You can't say, unless you have trust in that person, you cannot close your eyes because you want to save yourself. But when Krishna said, you close your eyes, they closed their eyes because they had full faith in Krishna, that full trust in Krishna, that Krishna will save them. So that's what I heard also. Similarly, Uddhav advised the gopis that they could be saved from the fire of separation by closing their eyes and meditating on the activities of Krishna from the very beginning of their association with him. Yeah, so Krishna, by remembering Krishna, when you close your eyes, you can think of Krishna in the mind, and then that thought of Krishna will give them solace from the fire of separation. From the outside, the gopis could visualize all the pastimes of Krishna by hearing the descriptions of Uddhav, and from within they could remember those pastimes. From the instructions of Uddhav, the gopis could understand that Krishna was not separate from them, as they were constantly thinking of Krishna. Krishna was also thinking of them constantly at Mathura. Okay. Let's see. It's a big chapter. We cannot finish whole thing. Let's read 9 o'clock. One paragraph in the end. Uddhav's message and instructions saved the gopis from immediate death, and the gopis acknowledged the benediction from Uddhav. So it gave them some solace. Uddhav practically acted as the preceptor spiritual master of the gopis, and in return they worshipped him as they would worship Krishna. It is recommended in the authoritative scriptures that the spiritual master be worshipped on the level of the Supreme. Although gopis are on a higher platform than Uddhav, but because Uddhav gave them some solace by bringing the message of Krishna, they gave so much respect to Uddhav. Because he was Krishna's messenger. So Prabhupada says, yes, because the spiritual master, being the servitor of the God, is the external manifestation of Krishna. The gopis were relieved from their transcendental burning condition by realizing that Krishna was with them. Initially, they remembered his association within their hearts, and externally, Uddhav helped them associate with Krishna by his conclusive instructions. Okay, so we'll continue this. There's a nice lecture by, We can hear a little bit, maybe. What do you think? For some time, or maybe later on.
Yes,
Now
can hear.
we can hear a little bit
Yes.
from Lal Govind Prabhu. I was hearing you were hearing yesterday. So let's see this. This is the one. We turn this